was approached and asked to write poetry for tonight, I said yes, fairly eagerly. You see, writing is something I've done since a young age, and I've got a passion for the page and for the stage, so imagine my shock and self-directed rage to discover I had next to zero poems about Jesus. But then I realised that poetry is something I tend to write when I am devastated, when I'm miserable and hungry for the melody of words, but Jesus has given me so many opportunities to rejoice, and so subconsciously, not out of choice, I had few poems to pick from. So I wrote this one. Now, I've heard the story of Jesus Christ about 100 times, but only yesterday did it break my heart. And thankfulness is never silent, so I want these words to be an offering to him. You've heard thank you for the music. Well, Lord, I thank you for these words, because only yesterday did I truly see a God, yes, but a man who died for me. A man who was rejected and scorned. A man who was flayed, whose flesh was torn for me. A man who was prepared to lose his family and friends for me. We can all be self-deprecating at the best of times, and yes, self-love and care are paramount, yet irrespective, when put into perspective, who am I? Who are you? Who are we? To be loved by perfection by someone we treated with rejection. The notion itself is ridiculous. It's almost too good to be true, because of course I have my flaws and so do you. I'll get irritated by the loud people next door, or I'll get angry or jealous or do something I regret, and yet, when we look to Jesus' example, there is only ample evidence of love and forgiveness. Somehow he, in all his perfection, never once despised us. Jesus alone was righteous without being self-righteous. Get this. Jesus was willing to pray for his murderers while they were doing the killing. Consider this. A man whose hands were to be nailed because we had failed, whose feet would be secured to blocks of wood. You know that feeling when you get lemon or salt in a paper cut? Now imagine vinegar being poured into open wounds, and envision a man who chose to do this all for you. Jesus is the Word who spoke no word, whose silence meant that I could be set free. So I can no longer be silent about a man who endured so much violence out of the goodness for his will. And it's all possible because Jesus didn't come to earth because you were good. He said it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. So even though I've messed up, he's chosen to free me from my sin. And recently I have cried every time I've entered his presence. I've been overwhelmed by his realness. And of course, initially I tried to hide this, or at least try hard to disguise this, as though I was above this, as though I, the great Nikki Aqua, never cries. But guess what? Knowing Jesus is terrifying, because he strips us from our pride until we deny ourselves and carry our own cross. He is Saviour. He is Deliverer. He is the healer in whom I trust, and even Jesus wept in John 11:35. Human pride has killed so many. I would rather exist in humility for Jesus Christ. And so now, when I think of how a man was tortured for love of me, I allow myself to feel the emotion freely. God, I am so thankful for your word. In many more ways than one, I am so thankful for the Father, for the Spirit, and your Son.